Hey, MCARBO brother, and I'm Chris Nelson, president of MCARBO. Really excited to introduce a new CZ912 trigger spring kit for your CZ shotgun. A fantastic improvement, really simple, straightforward installation, 15 minutes or less to give you a nice, crisp, clean trigger pull. 50% trigger pull reduction from 7 down to 3.5. Fantastic. Really excited to hear your feedback on this. Let's get on over to tabletop. Put this baby in. Before we begin, let's check our shotguns together, make sure they're clear. Check the chamber, check the bolt face, check the magazine too. This shotgun's clear. Let's see what kind of factory trigger pull we're starting with. 6 pounds, 15 ounces. Let's take one more to confirm. 6 pounds, 14.7 ounces. Parts and tools needed for this build: the CZ912 trigger spring kit by MCARBO, bench block, 1/8 inch punch, 3/32 inch punch, 1/16 inch punch, a hammer, and as always guys, make sure you're wearing iPro. All right, before we get into removing the trigger assembly, I want to point out something really critical here. You can see the hammer inside there, so the trigger's been pulled, the hammer's forward. The hammer is resting against the back of the bolt there, and also the carrier is up, and there's a little detent here that's compressed. This is going to be super critical when we go to put this back together. When we drop in the trigger mechanism, we want to make sure the hammer's forward and that the carrier is up and this little detent is compressed. Just something to take notice of. Now let's go ahead and jump into it. So we'll take our bench block, our 3/32 inch punch, and we're going to tap out this takedown pin right here. All right, real simple and easy. Pull the takedown pin right out, set that aside. Now we're going to pull up and out on the actual trigger mechanism. It may be a little stiff, so we'll put a little synthetic grease on the sides when we go to reassemble it, but that's pretty much it. Now we need to focus on the trigger mechanism. All right, now let's quickly review the trigger assembly here. So just like we had mentioned previously, this is the orientation that we're going to have it in when we go to reassemble it. The hammer is going to be forward, the carrier is going to be up like so, and that detent is going to be compressed. Very critical, and it'll make life a lot easier. So you got your hammer here, you've got your hammer spring and follower there. All right, and then you've got your trigger here, obviously. Now this portion is part of the trigger. Now this is the Sear right here with the Sear spring underneath. You can see the detent as well. Now we have an exploded view on the website for your reference, and this is the actual carrier mechanism here. You can see all the linkage here. So that's a quick down and dirty overview. Now let's get into actually disassembling the rest of this and installing the new Sear spring, which is really exciting. We're going to really reduce this trigger pull, make it nice, smooth, and crisp. All we really have to do is tap out this trigger hinge pin right here. We can leave this one in place, and we'll see how it all locates and interacts with one another here in a second. So now we'll take our 3/32 inch punch, and we're going to tap out that forward pin right there, right? The only pin that we have to remove. All right, there it is. You can set the pin aside. All right, slowly remove. I've got a little downward pressure on that trigger. All right, so I remove my pin, and I want to see how everything's put together. All right, so we're slowly pulling it all out, and you can see we've got a trigger return spring right there. All right, you can see how it all interacts with the actual mechanism. You can see that pin that we didn't tap out back here, still in there, right? Now when we go to reassemble it, you're going to see that notch on the back of the trigger. This one right here is what's actually going to go in there and locate on that pin first. All right, so that'll be critical. So we can set the trigger guard aside. Now let's focus on the rest of the trigger. We'll just set our trigger return spring aside for a second. Don't want to lose that. Now we'll need our 1/16 inch punch. We're going to tap out this pin right here. So we've got our 1/16 inch punch. We're going to tap out this hinge pin right here, the Sear hinge pin. Now this Sear is under a ton of tension. You can barely even compress that thing. I mean, look at this. So right away we knew that was definitely the culprit for that massive trigger pull. I mean, I'm really gripping on it. And it's, look, indenting my finger like that. It's insane. All right, so we'll go ahead and take our 1/16 inch punch, center it up there on our bench block, give it a good little tap. It's a short little pin. All right. So you can see there's the Sear hinge pin right there, real tiny, so we'll set that aside. All right, now we're going to compress that Sear a little bit, pull out our 1/16 inch punch, and you can see, look at that, it just wants to rock it forward. All right, we'll set our Sear aside, pull out that detent, all right, and the spring right there. Okay, awesome. Now let's get the MCARBO spring out. So here's the CZ912 trigger spring kit by MCARBO, replacement Sear spring. Let's go ahead and pop that open. All right, so we got the MCARBO spring here. Now this MCARBO spring is very springy. So if you're going to do this side-by-side comparison, just be careful. It may fly away on you. All right, but it's definitely a lot more springy than the stock spring. This stock spring is super stiff, and it'll really be a better comparison once we get the MCARBO spring in and we actually compress that Sear. So let's go ahead, set the stock spring aside. Let's put the MCARBO spring in. Awesome. Now another trick too on reassembly, if you've got some synthetic grease with PTFE, it just helps. You know, it's good for lubricity, but it's also good for helping things stick in place. You know, especially springs that are likely able to fall out. So we're going to take our MCARBO Sear spring, we're going to drop it right into this cutout, this notch here. Then we're going to take the actual detent, we're going to drop it right in on top of it, just like so. Oh yeah. Then we're going to take our Sear, all right? The flat face going towards the detent. Okay, I want to make sure everything's compressed. Oh man, this is so much easier than, trust me, try to put that stock spring back in. Alright, so now we're pushing the actual Sear back into place. Okay, basically you want to get it to fall right into that corner right there, that 90-degree cutout. Now grab that short pin, the Sear hinge pin, place it on the back side, and then press down on your bench block. Alright, it'll drop right into place. Much better, much lighter. Wow. Alright, I'm really excited to get this baby in there. Now the only thing we need to also include is the trigger return spring. You can do the same thing, grab some of your synthetic grease with PTFE, place it on the bottom. Alright, it'll just sit nicely in that hole, won't go anywhere. That way there it makes life a little bit easier. You can also add a little bit of that synthetic grease on the engagement surface of the Sear up under there, and then also we can coat the sides just so we get some good function, but mainly up under that ledge. Mainly up under those ledges on the trigger and the Sear. It's going to help increase that lubricity, make it feel a little bit smoother. If you've come this far, might as well take an extra half second to do that, and that's fantastic. So let's go ahead and drop this into the rest of the trigger assembly. All right, so now we're just going to drop the trigger, right, with the trigger return spring. See it right there, and our new Sear spring. Feels really good. Now dropping the trigger mechanism into the actual trigger guard, getting it to locate on that back pin. Remember, this portion is going to locate on the back pin. Beautiful. Dropping it straight in. Now we're going to line up the trigger with that hole there for the trigger hinge pin. Now this trigger hinge pin can be a little stiff. I'm going to coat it with some synthetic grease PTFE. I just noticed that on some of the disassembly it was just really tight. So if you got anything that's super tight tolerance like that, it may make sense to use a little bit of synthetic grease. I'm going to go ahead and locate the pin on the back side, just like so, and then I'm going to push down while I'm lining up those holes. Really help make a difference on that reassembly. There we go. Still, even with the synthetic grease, super tight. So if you've got that issue, I would highly recommend it. Don't waste your time hammering away. You don't want to damage anything. Then we'll take our 1/8 inch punch and just even it out. There we go. A little bit of recess there, a little bit of recess there. Perfect. It's not going to interfere with anything. And remember, so we need everything to be situated appropriately, right? So we want to make sure that detent is compressed. We want to make sure that hammer is forward, just like so. Want to test this trigger real quick. Functions properly. Nice. Check that safety. Excellent. All right, now let's go ahead and drop this back into the CZ912. Now grab your CZ912, go ahead and turn it upright. Bolt should be forward. Now we're going to take our trigger assembly, right? Carrier should be up like so. Little detent is compressed, hammer's forward, everything else is reassembled, pins look good. Good time to make a good last minute check on everything. All right, now we're going to drop it straight in. You line up that hammer into that notch right there. All right, kind of wiggle it in there. All right. Boom, lined right up, perfect. Now we're going to tap our pin in. We are good to go. Awesome. Real simple, straightforward, fast installation. Now let's go ahead and do a function check, test this trigger pull. Place on safe, pull the trigger, nothing, good. Place it on fire, nice. Let's see what kind of trigger pull we got now. That is just fantastic. Woo, let's measure this. Now let's see what kind of modified trigger pull we got. Woo, 3 pounds, 13.6 ounces. Let's take one more to confirm. 3 pounds, 7.1 ounces. Well, there you have it, guys. A 50% trigger pull reduction for your CZ912. Fantastic improvement. Really effective, simple, straightforward installation for a clean, crisp trigger pull. That is phenomenal. Really love it, guys. I'm happy that you guys recommended this one because we wouldn't have done it otherwise. You guys recommended it over and over again, so here it is. We made it. So thank you guys very much. Thank you, MCARBO Brotherhood, for your ideas and your support. And as always, happy shooting.